Hi, everyone. This is Suzanne Wagner, and this particular section is called The Stages of a Soul's Evolution. We think our life will start somewhere ahead of us when it is right here, right now. But life for some flows in stages of evolution. For others, it is like the chapters in a book. And for some, it is a series of fascinating books that move off in completely different directions. My father used to say that people don't essentially change. I disagree with him. While I believe we have a core essential self, and that light within us has certain ways that it will prefer to focus and experience life, I do believe we can change. It is just that most don't. For some, those changes tend to manifest slowly through various lifetimes. For other brave and bold souls, for one reason or another, see the limitations of the current expression, personality, and constrictions from the ego and actively decide to move past the known and go towards those things that frighten them the most. They decide to actively, consciously, safely, and constructively move past the construct of the current personality and the ego, then decide to dive deep into parts unknown and those things that are unexpressed. To do that, I have found that I have to call upon the many people that I have been previously in other lifetimes and on those guides and angels that are called to me by my energy and my stretching towards. That begins a spiritual journey that can so drastically alter the perception of the soul that we feel very different and as if we are not looking at things through the same eyes. My spiritual journey started when I was very young. As a young child, I needed the connection to the guides and angels to make sense out of my personal reality that I was attempting to navigate and wanting to make sense out of. I have learned that understanding helps so much in the process of acceptance. I was a very open child, one that decided early on to never let go of my spiritual connection. That connection was my lifeline, my safety net, and my life preserver. It allowed me to feel safe and grounded in this reality while flying and soaring in another. The thought of losing that connection to the higher realms was terrifying to contemplate, and I vowed to listen to nature, the animals and birds, the wind and the waves. I vowed throughout all sacred time and space to never really separate from spirit. But I also learned that spirit will not give us what we necessarily want. That is probably why many get angry and disconnect from their intuitive spiritual side when some feel the power of that passion moving within and reach for that elusive goal, then feel the hard truths that this density will throw at us to stop us from our dream. They feel tremendously disappointed, as if the feeling of such promise was some sort of guarantee of success. Success is only achieved when one realizes that grace comes from failure, wisdom comes from willingness to try, and success is earned not just in this life, but from the culmination of many lives, many lifetimes, many previously failed attempts, and many shattered dreams. For me, I recognize that all things in this reality were to teach me something. I recognize that attraction was the method that the angels and the guides used to get me to move in certain directions. Attraction is the beautiful lure with the hidden barb that will hook the soul and drag us towards the unknown. And I learned the hard way that being drawn to something did not necessarily mean it was going to be effortless or easy. In fact, those things were, more often than not, going to be hard. The stronger the pull, the more effort would be required in direct proportion. But the mind of a child can make sense out of things that the adult mind will rail against. The flexibility of my child's mind was such that it did not require absolutes. It knew that was an impossibility in this reality. The curiosity of my inner child was willing to see what was on the other side of the challenge. She was willing to feel past the domains of human attachment to something so much more elusive that called to me in a potent way that was irresistible to my soul. I am very familiar with some deep part of my core that loves to prove to the naysayers that the impossible is possible. I wanted to prove that others were wrong in their assessments, their projections, and their biases, because most people were only expressing a projection of their own fear. Inside, I knew that was their truth, that what was their truth was not necessarily the truth. I recognized that one cannot trust those whose lenses are clouded by their own mistakes and failures. I understood that most will collapse in places from events that will make them vow never do something so stupid again, and then warn everyone to not try because they failed, and then they needed to know that everyone would fail just as they did. They wanted validation for their opinion and then become a victor by being the wise person that warned others that might embark on a similar path. When I look at my life, I see very different books. The first was the journey of my childhood, a world in which my father was mysterious and always gone, a world where my mother suffered from childhood trauma that haunted her mind and caused her emotions to become a disease of fear and dysfunction that threatened to take everyone around her on an emotional roller coaster. My childhood was a world where the only escape was to go deeper into nature and to reach higher towards the angels. And the natural world saved me. The elements were my real friends that never abandoned me. They were always there when I needed them, and they never judged or compared. The angels helped me understand complicated situations that were beyond the understanding of a child's mind. They showed me glimpses of things beyond my fear, beyond my own current level of awareness. They believed in me and stood by my side through the most difficult of times. They gave me hope when I felt that I had failed. They showed me compassion for myself that I did not know how to offer her in certain moments. That world taught me how necessary mental and emotional self-discipline was, but also how necessary it was to allow nature to teach me the lessons that really mattered and to show me that I was never, ever alone. That childhood book and story was my first foray into the positive and negative sides of this reality. It laid the foundation stones that would continue to help me through this life. The second book was the book and world of ballet, dance, art, music, passion, expression, control, mastery, and beauty. And what a beautiful gift it was. I found a calling whose wind was strong enough to carry the soul of this bird that I was on its updrafts and into a place of overview and perspective that allowed all the insane pieces of this life to make sense. In ballet, I found who I was inside, my longing, my power, the exquisiteness of my own subtlety and nuance, and I found the hope that could carry me beyond my own pain and into those places of great joy and expression of the deeper self that was attempting to emerge. While my childhood allowed me to search for the expression that the soul longed to be, ballet showed me that I had wings and that I could fly. Those wings were not necessarily physical, but etheric. Those wings were the rapturous beating of a heart that could not be stilled by life or death. Those wings were the passionate embrace of my own creation as it was being created. Ballet was the form that allowed for something that was formless to embody within me, and together we would touch a few, open some hearts, and remind souls that there was so much more to life. Now, we can never be separated. Death cannot divide the powerful love that we feel for each other, and that force that has pulled us into this moment sees each breath as precious, and that there is splendor in every bit of filtered light that manages to come through our atmosphere to inspire those next brave souls into this profound adventure. These words and chapters are offered up as a bridge for each of you to discover the magnificence of being, They are a testament to the legacy of all artists that have refused to conform to the limitations of their own mind or the restrictions of the society in which they existed. All artists are rebels against the dogmas of fear. All artists are warriors battling for souls to remember. All artists strive to connect the density of humanity to that divine spark that is also within. Artists weave energy, sound, light, and movement to show the vast ways that each soul can connect to what the heart knows but the mind tries to deny. All forms of art are patterns and pathways to break souls out of the prisons and cages that the mind and this duality creates to enslave what is the most beautiful gift of this life. And that is to remember and awaken while here to the infinity that we all are. One.